They completely pulled out his mistake, didn't note it. Like, I would be totally fine if they, put it in brackets to make it, make it clear that they were correcting
Like
what
the Western
Biden
Journal
said,
does?
the way the Western Journal would, because a slip up is certainly possible. I don't have any problem with people slipping up. We do it.
Is there a White
They don't
House
do
Slack
that.
channel?
Yeah,
Probably.
exactly. But they don't do that. They don't do that. They just take Kayani out, Ghani's in. What mistake? What slip up? Joe Biden's totally fine. He's a brilliant man, no problems whatsoever.
And if we leave, we're going to do so in a safe and orderly way. We're in consultation, I say, with our allies and partners and how to proceed. And Secretary Blinken is meeting in Brussels this week with our NATO allies, particularly those who have forces there. And General Austin is just met with Kayani, and I'm waiting for the briefing on that. He is the leader, quote, in Afghanistan and Kabul. And there's a UN-led process that's beginning shortly on how to mechanically get people, how to end this war. But it is not my intention to stay there for a long time. But the question is, how and in what circumstances do we meet that agreement that was made by President Trump to leave under a deal that looks like it's not being able to be worked out to begin with? How's that done?
All right. There's so many things to say about that. Very short, like minute-long clip. And just a few things I'm going to point out. First of all, he's asked about this May 1 deadline that is fast approaching for the removal of American troops from Afghanistan. Donald Trump used to talk about getting us out of the endless wars. And May 1 was a date that was established by the Trump administration to get American troops out of Afghanistan. So Joe Biden was asked about that. The very first thing he says is, if we leave, so we're starting right from the beginning, and let's just translate that. We're not leaving. That's what Joe Biden said. When he starts with if, that means forget about May 1. That's not happening. We're going to be there maybe forever. So that's the first thing.
Notice how he said, hopefully we don't want to stay there for very long.
Yeah, I don't want to be there for a long time.
Yeah. That's
You're
what
not
Bush
going to
said.
be alive for a
Yeah.
long time, Mr. President, with all due respect. What does long time mean? I don't even know. He's completely reading his answer, or he seems to be completely reading his answer. He's looking down the whole time. He repeats himself. We're going to talk to our NATO allies, especially the ones who have a presence there in Afghanistan. Why in the world would he be talking to people who aren't in Afghanistan? Why would that make any sense
the Greenland
at all?
ones.
Yeah, it's the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. Afghanistan is nowhere near the North Atlantic, so how would that make sense? He then says that we just had a meeting with Kayani, who is a former Pakistani military leader, nothing to do with Afghanistan at all, not Ashraf Ghani, who is the current president of Afghanistan, who we assume he meant to say. But then he calls Kayani, trying to talk about Ghani, calls him the leader, quote. It's like he's trying to cast some sort of doubt as to whether he's the legitimate leader of Afghanistan, which is really ironic given that this is Joe Biden, who just came out of this tumultuous election himself. He's casting doubt on someone else's election results. That seems pretty ironic to me. Abdullah, one of the primary opponent of Ashraf Ghani in that election, actually on Inauguration Day staged his own inauguration. So there are some kind of parallels between the U.S. situation, the Afghani situation, but the U.S. has recognized Ghani as the leader, the legitimate president of Afghanistan for some time now. So Isaac Cox, who wrote about this for the Western Journal today, says that, very generously says that Joe Biden slipped up. That's what she says. He slipped up and called Ghani Kayani. He did that apparently while reading, however, so I'm not sure how that worked. Then he says President Trump, like he couldn't remember who he just replaced in the White House. But then here's the kicker. This is my favorite part of the whole thing. He very clearly says, Joe Biden says, Kayani, the leader, quote, of Afghanistan, But the transcript from the White House doesn't say Kayani, it says Ghani. They completely pulled out his mistake, didn't note it. Like, I would be totally fine if they, put it in brackets to make it, make it clear that they were correcting
Like
what,
the Western
what Biden
Journal
said,
does?
the way the Western Journal would, because a slip up is certainly possible. I don't have any problem with people slipping up. We do it.
Is there a White
They don't
House
do that.
Slack channel?
Yeah,
Probably.
exactly. But they don't do that. They don't do that. They just take Kayani out, Ghani's in. What mistake? What slip up? Joe Biden's totally fine. He's a brilliant man, no problems whatsoever. So remember when Joe Biden was going to be the president who restored respect to America in the world community with regard to U.S. foreign policy? Donald Trump was some kind of laughingstock around the world, but Joe Biden was going to come in and be serious, and people were going to be, they were going to respect the U.S. again.